The following podcast is a production focused on storytelling, exploring new TTRPG systems and their supplements. This podcast is not sponsored by any of the systems or their owners and is meant to be a fun, interactive book club. Respective credits for songs, sound effects, and resources are listed within the description or details. And with that, please enjoy, adventurer. Welcome to the Tables and Fables podcast, the interactive TTRPG book club where we pick up new mechanics, bumble through systems, and ultimately tell fun stories together. I am the dim green light across the bay, leading you through the Swamplands. Tim, joining me on this particular adventure will be my two co-hosts. Please introduce yourselves.
Hey, it's me, Collin.
And me, Amanda.
So last time we did a session 0, and if anyone hasn't listened to that already, I would highly recommend that. We do a little bit of some character building, as well as also just kind of exploring that of Valda's Spire of Secrets that we're going to be using as one of our source materials today. I know I already asked this, but for the sake of us actually seeming like normal people, how is everyone doing today?
I'm doing very well, actually. I've been excited throughout most of the week, and now that it's Friday here, I'm excited.
We have been talking about this nonstop all week. Absolutely feral to roll some dice. I'm excited.
Cool. So no pressure whatsoever. I get it. That's great. Cool.
Mhm.
I have been excited and also chomping at the bit and feeling a bit. It's been a long week and I'm ready to dive into it. Let me see if I can bring up that of the story to weave here, the mystical loom. I'm gonna have a sip at the waters though, just because.
Want to do the same? Although it's a sip of giant
Oh,
bottle of Pep.
because that's great for the vocal cords. Yeah, that's gonna be great. By the end of this, you're gonna be like,
I'll eat some chocolate too. I heard chocolate is great for the vocal cords. You know?
right. What?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. That's why I
once
have to buy a lot of it.
I have no idea if there's any validity to this, just off kilter here. But when I was in choir in college, there was a woman from Kenya that she told me that the best thing to have before singing is to crack a raw egg. And I went, I can't, I don't know if that's true. I'm not going to debate you on that at all, but maybe it's with a sudden jolt of just having a raw egg that you suddenly just sing operatic. But, hey, to each their own of their own method, I suppose. But hey, that's a fun little thing that you now know. Crack the egg down your throat and just let yourself sing your heart out.
Yep,
Maybe
that's
the
what you do.
grossness.
Require Rocky Balboa, whole glass of egg. Just
Oh.
Rocky Balboa, known for his musical singing.
Yeah, of course.
You gotta cut me, Rocky. No, not Rocky. Who was it? Cut me. Oh, shoot, I forgot the name of his little toady of a trainer. Anyway, off topic. But anyway, let's go back to the weave. I gotta go back to the loom, the magical loom here. So sorry, off kilter from Sylvester Stallone musicals. Your bodies feel almost smothered by the very air within the small waiting room. A mixture of fragrances that are sickly, sweet, and bitter. The kind that if you were to take seat in this waiting room for too long, you'd most likely feel yourself never able to be rid of that particular smell, no matter how long you scrubbed, scraped, and bristled upon your diseased skin. As you sit, you wait to hear from Dr. Honeyeater themselves. After all, you and a few well-picked others like you had taken to donning the hood of the Pale Raven, individuals that worked for the good doctor in investigating ailments, minerals, and other unique properties of that of the swamplands of the Stillwake Marsh. And as such, there was very little you did without the command of Dr. Honeyeater, whether you liked it or not. The door on the far end of the ramshackle wall opens, casting a golden light in the dimly lit room. Ravens 42 and 72, you may enter. And for this part here, I will let whoever would like to go first describe your character getting up from their seat in this ramshackle waiting room and going into that of the office of Dr. Honeyeater.
All right. Scrap, the 4 foot tall ratling, kind of scoots. Her feet had been dangling off the edge of the chair. She kind of scooches to the edge and hops to her feet, just straightening her clothing, I guess. She has brown fur, tan around the muzzle, a bunch of piercings in one ear, and her right arm, from the tips of her fingers all the way up past her elbow, looks as though it's been dipped in boiling oil. It's just covered in basically burn scars. She gives like a half-hearted salute to the rest in the waiting room and walks forward.
Did you mention what she's wearing, or is she just going
Oh,
like?
sorry. She is wearing a simple kind of tied halter top. It has an iron ring right around her heart. Um, just green and brown leathers. She has a half cloak kind of across her shoulder. Um, it's kind of ragged, but it serves to hide her arm when in private conversation.
Okay. And then I suppose coming right after Scrap, who do we have lurking in the shadows coming up and behind her?
Benjamin kind of waits for Scrap to go ahead, and he kind of stands up himself. He's a bit taller, at 5'11". He's tall and lanky. He's got a mop of kind of stringy black hair. He is a shifter, and in mid-20s, about 25. Very thin build. He's got a frumpy, kind of classic-looking peasant shirt, kind of beige, old, little tattered. Brown pants that fit that style. They're frayed at the knees. He's definitely very bony if you look at him. His clothes kind of hang off of him a little bit. Kind of looks a little nervous but excited. Noticeably, he's not wearing any shoes. He's barefoot.
It's a bold choice to have in the city.
Well, he's always been barefoot, so.
Entering into that of the small offices of Dr. Honeyeater, you see a robed figure behind a makeshift desk of an upturned rowboat. The top of this desk is adorned with a variety of smoked glass bottles, each one filled with an assortment of strange colored liquids. Different colored wax droppings, ink-blotted papers, and various dried plants also cover a prominent amount of this piece of rotting furniture, save for a small opening in the center of this mess, in which the strange Dr. Honeyeater scribbled upon a piece of parchment, scratching away with a ragged-looking quill. Looking up, you see that their face is obscured by a long, beat white, bird-shaped leather mask, blotted with strange liquids from past grisly examinations. Their long limbs are covered in a similar white leather, hiding their true form beneath bindings of rope, belt, leather, and cloth, all varying shades of white, save of course for the large black cloak that hid a majority of their body, itself hunched over the desk. You can see that as he's sitting there, or rather as they're sitting there, they're sitting kind of crouched in that their knees are actually on either side of their body, as they're just kind of just crouched down, just scribbling upon it. So you get the sense that this individual is a lot taller than his hunched form belies. So as he sits there just scribbling away, you have entered into his office, the door shutting behind you.
Should you say something to him? Tell him we're here.
Hello? Scrap kind of waves. Hi.
As you say that, Scrap, Dr. Honeyeater still scribbles away for a bit longer, refusing really to look up at you, but still speaks aloud.
Yes, was it 72 or 42? I've always confused the two.
I am 42, he says slow.
42.
I'm 72 over here.
72, that's right, I remember now. Ah, yes, the dual twos. I have called you in here.
He continues to scribble away upon his parchment, his face still looking down upon it.
Called you in here because I have been tasked to gather various materials in the northeastern part of the marsh. I've been developing a new poultice, and I've been hearing also some strange rumors of different colored fauna as of recent in the region. I've been commissioned, on top of us gathering our own materials, to discover the source of these strange creatures in exchange for something that I feel that both of you might actually find could use in the future, and myself also benefiting from this arrangement as well.
Sounds like fun. What type of fauna are we dealing with?
Dr. Hunter puts down the quill finally and lifts his head slowly up, the black glass of the eyes of the mask just glinting in that of the candlelight. You are unable to see past this very opaque black glass, but you can get the sense that he is looking directly at you.
There have been multiple reports of swamp elephants of a different shade, snakes being larger than they should be and of a different shade than they normally are. Those are the prevailing two that we have discovered.
Oh, so something small then.
Are you used to something larger?
She kind of pointedly looks down at her rattling self. I guess, yeah.
Well, very good. As far as the specifics go, I will leave that to the pair of you to decide how to approach the situation. I would begin probably in the northeastern part of the swamp lands or close to the marsh. Other than that, I leave that to you. Do you have any questions for me?
What are we supposed to collect? Are we bringing anything back?
I suppose samples, proof of their existence. There haven't really been many brought back. Really, just we need some examinations. You both have had sufficient amount of medical training to see potentially what these things might be, if it's some sort of natural mutation or that of the magical miasma that persists through that of the swamplands.
So we're looking for hair sample, scale sample.
I leave that to you. Anything that you feel would be beneficial to provide a sufficient source of evidence of there being a strange colored animal.
Understood.
Any other questions? Or
And Benjamin shakes his head.
a bit amazed that the pair of you haven't asked exactly what the reward would have been. If
There's
you
a
don't want it, I can
reward?
say. Well, that's what I said at the very beginning. I
Oh.
can just keep it for myself.
As
if that's
Benjamin
okay.
has this look on his face, it's kind of an empty, like, oh, you said there was. Oh, he's very happy about it.
I can keep it for myself then, or do you want it? I mean,
Well,
He
no,
shakes his head vigorously.
Like
Yes,
the-
yes, yes, we'd like it.
Oh, no. She starts like, no, we want the reward, just didn't want to be rude.
okay. Well, I
Figured you were always
appreciate
so
you.
generous, so.
Yes, all right. I appreciate you being so polite. What we will be receiving is that of Magiweave has suits from that of the Kaztor Empire. It will allow you to freely roam in certain cities outside of that of Cluster Rock.
Oh.
You say certain cities, is there a range on these things? Is it durable? Like, she starts looking a little excited.
You would be allowed to go to a few of the minor cities on the outskirts, not the capital itself, but most major populated, dense areas you would be allowed to explore freely, from my understanding, from the Magiweave suits.
That sounds amazing. I don't think I've ever really been outside of the city much, if at all.
I'm surprised. Can I do a history check to see if something like that has ever been offered by Dr. Honeyeater or any of their medical experimenters before?
Yeah, sure. Give me a history check. First check of the podcast. Okay.
That's a 9.
That's a 9. You kind of tap your head, kind of directly trying to think a little bit to think back to this kind of thing. But you know it enough that this is not something given lightly. This is not something that is often given to anyone. It's a very valuable piece of magical medical equipment. It's not used by many in Cluster Rock. Predominantly, though, some of the individuals that live in the Calm, which is like the center area, of course, the quarantine area, the doctors and students that have gone there to learn about disease, they have them. Some of them do, but it has not been a direct gift to be given to anyone beside even if those are infected.
She kind of gives a low whistle. Well, I'm sold.
Me too.
Very good then. Do you require any other information, or is that sufficient enough for you to go about your business, Ravens?
I think that settles it for me.
Benjamin nods again, very happily. I'm ready to go.
Well, yes. All right, very good then. I shall be here waiting for you to report back on that. But other than that, I bid you good luck.
And he just waves his hand absentmindedly at you as he goes back to his business of scrolling upon the parchment.
As we're walking out, Benjamin kind of peeks over his own shoulder at the desk where Dr. Honeyeater is writing. He looks over at his parchment from where he's standing. He doesn't go any closer. Tries to catch a peek at what he's writing down.
Okay.
Just out of sheer curiosity, he's just he kind of he's trying his neck a little bit.
Sure. Give me a perception check, if you would.
Looks like I rolled a 4.
4. Your eyes don't adjust well to that of the low light of this area, this office of Dr. Honeyeater, and you're unable to see exactly what he's writing. It just looks like a bunch of scribbles to you from a distance.
Boo.
Boo. Boo-hoo.
As we're walking out, probably going to need to put on some shoes for this, since we're going to a swamp and everything. He just
That sounds savory.
So he will have regular shoes on before they go to the swamp. He'll put those on.
Do you have regular shoes, or is it a choice to walk around barefoot, or just
Good choice.
Oh, okay.
It's more of a something he's used to for some reason. He feels oddly more connected to just walk around without that.
With all the nasty of the street, just want to get more connected to that.
It's something that's his choice for some reason. He likes to kind of run around without them.
With the
But if
nasty.
it's going into a swamp, why not?
All right. So you put on your boots that you save specifically for going out to the swamp, as opposed to your going around feet. What do you guys do? You're currently located in the west side of that of Cluster Rock, in that of the Brackwater district. So it's kind of that of the poverty-laden streets. As you exit out that of Dr. Honeyeater's office, you know that it's a bit strange that he actually sets up shop outside of the Calm. He's kind of one of those rare instances of a doctor or even a medical practitioner of magical means that decided to actually stay in the Brackwater district itself. So the offices are a bit ill put together. They are made of different parts of driftwood and parts of rotted logs and the like, and kind of a strange amalgamation to form that of the rough shape of a house, or rather an office, I would say. So exit out onto the streets, onto cobblestone streets. You are met with the smell of salt, of fish, and that of like a slight tang of apple as you make your way further into that of the Brackwater district. What do you do?
I guess Scrap would look around, kind of seeing who's out and about for the day. Does the weather look clear? So what can she see?
Sure. So go ahead and give me. I wouldn't even say you need a check actually for this. Just looking up at the sky. I shouldn't. One thing I have to remember about D&D is to be careful not to always be like, roll to step forward. Gotta be careful about that sometimes. But yeah, so you look around and you see that it's a bit overcast. You would get the sense that this would be weather close to that of maybe a bit of a drizzle. But yeah, so you see that of like an overcast sky. Dark, gray-ish, not very much sun kind of shining through.
All right, we're gonna go get a lot of samples. This will be the first time that we'll be, I guess, doing something.
I know, it's exciting. So, what are you in for? She kind of looks him up and down, trying to see any sort of patches of, scars or anything goofy.
What do you mean?
Well, she kind of holds out her right hand. Everybody's here for something, right?
Oh, like how sick am I? Got it.
In the fun way.
As he just cuts right to the chase. It's my bones. At least they used to be a lot worse. Just a lot of pain. They're still pretty painful, but not as weak as they used to be. Dr. Honeyeater actually helped me out with that as he's continuing to walk alongside Scrap.
Do you ever kind of look at what's underneath all that white?
I think he's probably like, I've imagined that he's burnt all over and he just covers it. Although, I don't really know. I've never got to seen it. What do you think? As if he's been waiting for this question. He had been waiting.
Kind of matches his energy. She leans in. She goes, I think with those long, gangly legs, he's a dwarf.
A tall dwarf?
She taps her nose. Everybody's here for something.
Oh,
The long leg disease that everyone
Mhm.
is.
Legs for days. Yep.
Benjamin's enraptured. He's like, oh, I never even thought of that. So when we get to the marsh, he didn't. I should have asked. I don't know if he wanted a sample. He says with air quotes, back alive. I guess not. I feel like they're gonna attack us.
Well, it's a technicolored swamp elephant and large snake. It'd probably cause a panic. I'm guessing we're probably just supposed to take sample and run.
I like that idea.
Something tells me they're not going to be too happy about it, but I think we can handle ourselves. I mean, I can handle myself. Can you handle yourself?
And Benjamin looks nervous. Well, I can run really fast, kind of.
Good, good. Okay. Leave me behind. I see how it is.
No. I'll, I can help, I guess, in a way. I
All
don't
right.
like to. I don't like to fight a lot.
Good thing we're not running into anything dangerous. She says as she keeps walking.
Okay, so you know that of the entrance to the marshlands is there is actually a entrance out that into the north part of the Brackwater district. Both of you would know about this. The thing is, though, I don't believe either of you have ever really journeyed out into the marshlands, so it's up to you exactly how you would like to approach this.
Living with the gnomes, would I ever have had reason to venture out there at any point while I've lived in Cluster Rock?
I guess it really would depend. It depends on since you said you wanted to help a lot of people, you were kind of this is brought up in session 0 is that you lived in that of Small Town, which was the gnome district of the history that of Cluster Rock, kind of the gnome families that have survived the genocide that occurred by the dwarves. Lore drop. So essentially, you said that your character was more of a person that wanted to help anyone that he could. So I would
Right.
reason that in the northern part of Brackwater District, if I remember correctly, that's Small Town, which is Ralnor. You would have most likely done a little bit of journeying out to gather that of or no, Trunk Sour. Excuse me, because that would have been also connected. It's right next to All Around Nor. Trunk Sour is also the district that does a lot of the marshland, wood collecting, swamp apples, and elephant herding. So you probably would have gone out maybe a little bit, but not extensively. So
Like to
you could be
fill in for somebody who might have been sick or somebody who might have,
sure.
been
So
resting
you
for a day.
So you wouldn't probably be very familiar exactly with the surrounding marshlands, but you know, that's it.
Got it.
Scrap just seeing the swamplands approaching. She's like, so you ever been out this way? I'm always on the river. It's fish don't put up much of a fight, you know.
A few times, but never anything really extensive. Always kind of squishy out here.
Squishy. She kind of looks at the murky water. I bet.
So you're just going out into the swamplands then?
Yeah, we're gonna get this job done so well.
Okay.
I want that suit.
So who is proficient in survival?
I am.
You are, okay. So I guess that would depend on if you're gonna be taking the lead on making the survival checks to kind of be leading through that of the marshlands. I'm assuming that, yeah?
Okay. All right, and he's all right. I think I remember the way here. All right, Miss Scrap, follow me.
Okay, what kind of pace are you guys taking?
I Benjamin would be the type to follow whatever pace that Scrap is going to be doing. He'll be the direction guy. If because he's I'm not saying he's a pushover, but he's if Scrap's running this way, he's gonna wait up.
So you slow pace, fast pace? Are you just got to
What do you think?
you guys
What do you
taking
think,
your
Amanda?
time? Like, what are you doing?
I'd
I think
say probably a moderate walking pace because we'd want to keep our eyes on us or head on a swivel, see what we can see, and but not go running headlong into danger.
Taking your time, not wanting to slip up and fall into the marsh and that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
How
So go
deep
ahead.
are these waters?
So you would not know particularly how deep they are. It's very deceptive because the water itself, as you've gone further into the marsh a little bit, just kind of preliminary, you can see it's deceptive. It can be because the water is dark. It is completely covered with various flora and various other things to kind of cover that of the water itself. So you're unsure, and sometimes you're just walking by and your foot slips, and you see your foot just goes like half foot down because there's water there. There's a you know
Can I make a quick look around for any, good sized branch maybe coming up to my shoulder so I can kind of have it in front of me? Just anything that might be long enough to kind of use as like a guiding stick, just in case I, kind of test areas in front of me while we're there. I kind of look around to see if there's anything to kind of test the waters, if you will.
Yeah. So your passive perception is 11, so it's not going to be, you're able to find a stick. It's a swamp. You're going to find sticks. You look to your right and you find a good, decently sized stick. Nothing to really swing at, really, as far as like an actual weapon, but it's something. So,
Scrap, I'm going to use this just in case it gets too deep in front of us. Well, then I'll be able to warn us.
so go ahead and give me a survival check, please.
Okay. That is a 19.
19. Okay.
All right.
The stick is working.
Let it be known. Just get a stick and you'll know where to go.
Always know where your stick is.
As you're going further into the swamp, it's taking a decent time because you are taking your time just kind of pushing the various bits of flora you find in the water and checking exactly how deep an area is. The mud sliding slightly under your feet as you're making your way further into that of the swamp northeast. As you get further and further in, eventually you find that your stick hits against something and it gives way a little bit. It's not directly the consistency of mud. It's a bit firmer than that, but there is something that your stick just kind of directly pokes into.
Oh! He overreacts a bit. I found something. And he kind of taps it a little bit. Is this a root? What is this? Kind of testing it a little bit.
As you're kind of poking at it with your stick, are you crouching down as you're kind of?
No, he's extending with the stick because he's walking with it, and he's just like, huh.
I love that with the fact that like now that we have characters that are unbelievably terrible, like hampered. Just how are you doing this?
With extreme caution.
Yeah, so as you're poking at it, you poke it a few more times, and as you do so, it then turns over in the water, and you see that revealed unto you is that of a bloated corpse of a dwarf. Their skin dark purple, and their eyes so unbelievably hidden from that of the bloated skin that you see it like their mouth wide open, and they're missing bits of their front, like their jaw. It looks like it's kind of been torn into a little bit, as their beard is just like disgustingly filled with mildew and all sorts of strange plants from that swamp.
Oh. And Benjamin kind of gets a somber look on his face. It's a dead guy.
Ugh. I'd hope he's dead, looking like that. She kind of leans over. Are there any identifying markers or anything? Like, does he have armor, clothes?
Yeah, so it's not that hard to see. It looks as though this is a dwarf that was most likely an individual that worked for a miller, like a collecting wood and the like. He's got a pack nearby that has a bunch of decently sized pieces of wood that looks to have been collected. A lot of small scraps here and there, but also a few chunks of decent log bits. That's the correct term, yeah, the log bits.
Is there like a a name on the backpack or anything? Any symbol? Maybe.
You don't see any kind of symbol or name on it. It looks to be just a standard backpack that someone would use in collecting of wood. Are you going to be investigating the backpack, or are you just...
Benjamin just kind of...
The thing is,
stands
remember,
up.
it's an audio medium, so
Yeah.
you have to see.
Yeah,
Staring
yeah.
blankly. Interpret the
Nodding
silence.
nodding doesn't exactly do much to the folks at home.
I wonder if there's anything in his bag. Should we check it?
She doesn't say anything. She just immediately starts flashing over to where the bag is and starts
Oh.
rooting around.
Yay, give me an investigation check.
I'll assist her. No,
That's
in
14.
that one. Yeah, it's fine. The assistance doesn't.
No assistance needed? No? Okay. Okay. All right.
It was a 5.
Scrap, looking into the pack, you find 10 silver pieces, and you find actually a potion of healing.
Well. Looks like somebody doesn't need those. And she immediately stows them in her pocket.
Ooh.
Do you want some of the silver?
You found it, he says with a smile.
You're right, I did. And she just starts walking away.
Finders keepers. Wait for me.
I suppose we should probably do something to mark that he's here. She kind of looks around. Would she be able to lift up any of the pieces of wood or the scraps pieces that are nearby?
Yeah, I would say you'd be able to. Are you trying to just mark? You're just trying to mark where he is?
Yeah, just if they could stick a couple in like a weird way so that it's identifiable. Because when we return, we can tell Dr. Honeyeater that there's a corpse out there somewhere.
Like a makeshift, slightly grave site with some log bits poking out.
Thank you. If we say it enough, it'll hopefully catch on.
Gotta have ideas for the birch. Log.
I think we're a bit far from that point, but okay. All right, so you mark that of the body with the log bits, making sure to have the decent configuration of it so that you'd be identifiable in the future. Is there anything else you'd like to do in this area as far as are you just going to be continuing on just through that of the swamp?
I'd like to investigate the body and see if there's any other sort of wounds or what we can glean about how they died.
Okay. Give me a medicine check.
That's a 9.
9. Unfortunately, as you look over the body, you find that the smell of it is a bit too pungent, and some of the body parts themselves, the rotting nature of it, is enough to make you kind of irk a little bit as you just put a hand over your snout and just retreat back a little bit. Putrefaction is definitely set in well with this corpse.
Well, he's either been here a while or the swamp's doing its work, I guess. Do you know who he was?
I don't think so. Just to double check. I mean, his face might be super bloated, but
I would say no. I mean,
No.
If the fact that there's no way you're going to be like, that's old man Tom,
Oh,
consider the amount
yeah,
of bloat, the amount of bloat upon this thing's face is too much of a it's too much of a mask of the identity beneath at this point.
he's way too dead.
Well, he's not getting any deader. I suppose we should press on.
That sounds good to me.
All right, lead on, Leggy.
Give me another survival check. Are you continuing on at a slow pace?
Yes. Okay.
Affirmative.
Another check here. That one is a 9.
Okay.
Come on, stick.
You continue to poke this way and that, becoming a bit bonded with that of your newfound walking stick as you traverse that of the treacherous waters of the swamp. It does take you a little bit of time as you're going through the swamp. You're finding that the various gnats and the other things are causing you to be a bit distracted at times. You're still finding a decent pace, and you eventually find that at a small kind of cobblestone road. It's calling it a road is a bit generous at this point. It looks as though it's enough of a path that you could get probably a cart down it, with a series, like a small bridge directly connecting to that of another smaller outcropping of an island.
Oh. Let's go check it out.
All right.
You see that there is a river that feeds into this area from the northeast, and there are several large outcroppings of moss-covered rocks with the smell of rotting fruit heavy in the air.
That must be the swamp apples. As we walk through, is there any sign of life? Any of the local fauna? Anything around?
That's probably loud enough I can actually hear it from.
Oh boy.
You don't notice anything in particular. You see that there is a cart directly in front of you by kind of a strange-looking black pond next to it, and there's a lot of apples that are cast about upon near the wagon, as well as a few crates in this blackish pond as well.
As Benjamin walks towards the cart in the area, he kind of peers over at the black pond. Huh, what is that over there? And kind of make a history check to see, like, if I've ever, like, is it tar or, is it something that I've ever seen before?
Sure.
It's a 16.
16.
History or nature, I guess, whichever one you think.
Which one are you doing with it? Do you have a
History, if I've ever seen it before.
Yeah, you wouldn't have gone this far into the swamp, most likely. You've heard tales of bits of tar pits that kind of exist in certain areas. It looks kind of like a tar pit, but that's the extent of it. Like, you've never really seen one before.
Got it. He, like, peers at it from a... It looks like that's a... maybe tar?
Let's not go traipsing in that if we can help it.
Okay.
Okay, do you know what tar is?
Yes, he says slowly.
Well, it's not good to walk in.
He's gonna poke over at one of the crates near the cart over there, just to kind of be nosy and maybe check inside one of them. Is it like a type of box with a lid, or is it completely sealed?
Sure, you can see even without even a perception check or any kind of check like that, that most of these crates actually have a side profile of an emerald-colored boar. And you recognize this as Bitter Boar Distillery. You don't see any bodies anywhere, but you just see these crates and that of the wagon.
They must have been gathering supplies for their drinks. It's odd that there's no bodies.
They must have left in a hurry. Can I do an investigation on the cart?
Sure.
It's a 16.
Investigating the cart, you find that there are a number of small packs. There's apples, a couple of bottles of water, a couple of food rations, a couple of utensils as well, plates.
These rations look fresh. Have they been there a while?
They look fresh.
She pockets a couple of the rations. Just kind of listening. Is there anything that we can hear in the area?
Just, you're giving me a casual perception check?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's a nat 1.
Nat 1. To peer through that of the mire, you don't see much, actually, at all. In fact, you begin to kind of feel like your eyes strain a little bit, and you go to rub them for a moment. As you go to rub them, you step forward, and how Benjamin was able to avoid this entirely is a bit strange, but the rocks beneath your feet give way, and you plunge down into what you assume to be the connecting part of the tar pit.
Oh shit!
You immediately take some damage from Dirty Tar. You need to roll here. Give me a D10 roll.
Stuff already
one.
happening. Oh.
1. Okay, so you take 1 point of fire damage. You sink down 2 feet into the tar, and you are now restrained.
Miss Scrap! Benjamin whips around. He goes over to... He goes over... Oh, are you okay? He calls back. He calls Dinah down in there. It's just 2 feet down. He holds out his stick for her to hold on to.
She instantly grabs it and tries to kind of use it to pull herself forward.
And I'll try to pull as well.
All right, so are you assisting her then?
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be... So go ahead and make your assistance roll first, if it actually works.
That is just a strength check.
Strength check.
It is 19.
Okay, go ahead and roll with advantage there, Wolf.
Be kind, Dice Gods. You were not kind! 6.
6.
With advantage?
It was a 3 and a 6. How dare you?
Because you got like no strength, right?
No, I have nothing. Stupid tiny rat body.
I'm sure I mentioned this at some point, but it's in session 0, but also it's been a little bit of a time into the podcast. I'm sure I'll put it at the very beginning. So we're doing a stupid rule here where we did our point rolls for 4d6 drop the highest, and that has led to some very, very poor ability scores. So these are diseased, sick people, folks. These are sick people. Could not even toss a marshmallow. You are still restrained.
Pull, Miss Scrap.
I'm trying.
What is your passive perception again, Benjamin?
11.
And what is your passive perception, Scrap?
It's not.
I think I actually need to 1 second. So it's been, yep. So I need to roll again to see how far down you sink. How tall are you again?
I'm 4 feet tall.
Oh, so you're already like halfway in there, huh? You sink 1 foot. And roll a d10, please.
That's a 2.
It's a 2. You take 2 fire damage as the tar begins to burn and singe around you, sizzling away upon your poor rat body.
And I guess you're still holding on to the stick.
I don't know how, because I have 1 foot left, which means she's up to her shoulders at this point.
Benjamin, at this point, you begin to feel a strange presence behind you. It feels as though something a bit bigger than yourself has actually been crawling closer to you, and how you have not noticed it at this point is beyond you. But in the corner of your eye, you see at the split second that of a giant maw of a giant toad leap forward and bite down upon you.
He just screams out.
Slap him, do something.
Weirdly enough, though, that's a 7 to hit. Does
No.
that hit?
No, it does not.
Okay, it goes to bite directly at you, and you move to the side right away. We're gonna roll for initiative now.
Okay. I'm rolling for initiative, and my initiative that I'm going to be rolling for is with a -2.
Ooh,
by the way.
cool.
Oh, well, that's 13. That's not bad at all.
What is you've got a -2. So then the toad actually is gonna go before you then.
That's the second nat 1 I have rolled this evening.
Doesn't bode well.
No, it does not.
All right, first up, it's the giant toad. Seeing that it has been rejected its initial attack to consume of its newly found meal, it goes to bite you yet again.
Easy, Mr. Toad.
It's a 23.
Yes.
8 points piercing and 3 points poison. And you are grappled.
Oh,
And that is its turn. Next up is you, Benjamin.
okay. I can still attack while I'm grappled, but I cannot move. He's gonna kind of grit his teeth. It's fight or flight. He can't run, and so he's going to draw his sword. It's his long sword.
Short.
He holds up his arm, and you see the bone shoot out from his palm. And he grits his teeth as he unsheathes his bone long sword, and he kind of lets out this guttural cry. "Ah!" And he goes to strike at it.
First of all, gross. Second of all, cool.
And that's a 23 to hit.
23 to hit. That'll hit.
It's going to be 6 points of slashing damage as he just kind of, from his grappled position, kind of hacks down unceremoniously.
Okay, you hack down unceremoniously upon this giant bloated toad. It splits open some of the skin, but it still seems nonplussed as it has a majority of its mouth.
How is this toad latched onto him right now? Where did it bite him?
It's bitten you, I would say, probably at this point, like on half the side of your body. It's a big toad. It's kind of like half of your body is directly inside of its mouth.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and end my turn.
All right. Scrap. So first, at the start of your turn, you need to see how far down you sink, which
One
is
foot
going to be
left.
1 foot. So I'm just going to say you sink down 1 foot. So you are completely covered. You are now going to start suffocating. Also roll a d10 for fire damage, please.
That's a 10.
Oh God.
10?
That was
Jeez,
a
okay.
10.
I mean, that makes sense, being completely covered in tar.
You know what? No. I am going to gamble with my war mage trick, and I'm going to re-roll that die.
For the audience at home, so what Wolf is using is that of the class, the War Mage class, which is a Valda's Spire Secrets class, and Gamble allows you to re-roll, basically, for bad rolls.
Well, and I have to double check the wording.
I made you roll the d10. I'd say that this is still fine. Like, I think we're still kind of fine with accepting this, if that's all right. Of where
It does stipulate like attack rolls, ability checks. I think also like damage rolls. Like pretty much any roll I can re-roll once per day until a
even damage done to you.
no.
This is my mistake. I should roll the d10. I should have rolled the d10 for the fire damage. I wanted to have a bit of a community build here of us just all participating in collective pain. But you know what? For the sake of this, I'll roll a d10 and we'll just take that result. How about that? And then you don't have to use your thing. I'm not trying to cheat you out of 10 fire damage or anything because I know you so want that 10
You
fire
know,
damage.
I just needed that in my life. I want to be crispy. Okay.
Right. Okay, so that is 3 fire damage. So, not bad. But you are completely covered.
Imagine she screams in the tar and just this bubble comes that sort of pops from inside.
just continues to scream from the bubble pop.
Miss Scrap, no! He's Benjamin screams out, still trying to untangle himself from the toad.
So the way it's going to work for suffocation, Amanda, is that it operates via you are able to hold your breath for 1 plus your con mod, and that equals how many minutes you can hold your breath under there.
1 plus my constitution, which I believe is 0.
So 1 minute, which that's actually a fairly long time in D&D time. Of course, we could run into a situation here in a minute. We'll see.
Great.
I did not realize that the toad would immediately. I mean, you didn't see it. You didn't see it. It stuck up a giant toad.
Am I able to do some sort of strength check to try to pull myself out of this tar, or at least get my head a little further above?
Yes, you can still. Yes, so you can use a strength check to escape.
I'm going to try for a strength check. I'm going to expend a die of fate, which is one of my 4d6s, and add it to the roll to give myself a better chance of escaping. Another war mage thing. So 19 plus 5, so that would be 24.
Beautiful.
But that d6 now goes to the DM.
So what do I get to do with that then? I can just use it for whatever I want?
Once you expend a die of fate, it goes to the GM, who can use it to add it to a roll made by an NPC or monster. Once the GM has used a die, it passes back to you, and so on. When you finish a long rest, you regain all of your expended dice of fate, whether or not the GM has used them.
Interesting. So I should just use these in regard. I don't see. Now I'm wondering. I don't want to be cruel here because this next thing I can do. Really? You want to be cruel? I'll be cruel.
You have the die of fate.
Oh, okay.
Suck in it, sir. Suck in it.
Oh, yes, of course.
You're out of the tar. That is your action. You can still move, but that is your action.
She's like, all right, ugly, let's go. And that is all I will be able to do at this moment.
Okay, so it goes to Baitio. Benjamin.
Oh.
That does not hit.
It's a critical fail.
We'll say that as it's kind of trying to consume more of you, like try to bite again, it gets kind of caught a little bit. We'll say on what are you wearing again? Like what are you wearing exactly?
The frumpy peasant frock, the beige shirt with the tide. Maybe it's I'm a little bit bony.
We'll say that because of that, there's a particular interesting jutting out part of your shoulder that causes the toad to irk a little bit, and we'll just say it takes 1 point of damage from that. But that is its turn, and next up is yours. You are still grappled.
He raises up his bone sword, his bone sword again, and strikes down and chops at it again.
Okay, chop.
That is an 11 to hit.
That hits.
And does 6 slashing damage as he kind of tries to just, again, slice at the very same spot, just getting him to let go.
Again, you slice down with that of your strange implemented bone sword, coming directly from your body, and it pierces the flesh once again, but a stream of darkish blood red blood. I don't know why I described it as blood red blood. Yeah, of course, it's blood. So the blood pulls out. You're spattered with blood, gore, viscera, descriptors. But it is still hanging on for its meal. Scrap.
Get it off of me!
It's like, let go of the cat! And she casts Mage Hand right next to it. And then as a bonus action, she winds up the spectral hand and punches the toad. That is available with the trick.
I need to read this here. The hand strikes one creature or object within 5 feet of it. Make a melee spell attack for the hand using your spell attack bonus. On a hit, the target takes 1d6 force damage. I love the fact of just weaponizing Mage Hand a bit more. Like
That is a 12 to hit.
that hits.
Now, there is also a second trick that applies to force damage, which is the blasting cantrip, which pushes a character back 10 feet if hit with force damage.
What? Okay, so once on each of your turns, when you deal force damage to a creature with a War Mage, you can put. Oh, okay, interesting.
So I punched the toad 10
Wait,
feet
so it doesn't-
towards the water.
It doesn't even specify the size. It just says creature. Does it specify the size at all? Actually, I want to see
No,
because
I've copied that verbatim to what the trick says.
that's a bit ridiculous because you could just push back a fucking giant. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, yeah. So go ahead and roll the force damage.
That'd be 4.
Okay, so 4 points of force damage, and you are setting it back 10 feet.
Yes, towards the water.
Is it taking
Towards
me
water.
with it?
Yes, we're still grappled.
Oh
He's
crap!
like,
I'm moving,
what
I'm
is? He's
sorry!"
like, what is that?
Just
He
kind of
goes
running. I'm
alongside
sorry,
with
I
it.
thought you would drop. That concludes my turn.
All right.
This is the first time he's seen her cast anything, and he sees, what does this hand look like? Is it like your rat hand, only in like a spectral form and big, or is it just like a big cartoon hand?
I imagined it would look kind of like her rat hand, so it's got like claws on the end of it. Most of her spells are flavored green because that's her favorite color. So this is like a lime green spectral hand.
Like your hand is like kind of glowing, but there's like a big spectral rat hand that just punched it and took me with Mr. Toad.
Yep.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Off he goes.
That is a 17 hit.
If it's hitting me again, it meets it, beats it.
Okay. As it hits you, the mouth kind of consumes over, and then it lifts its head up, and you are swallowed whole. Some lovely Foley there, thank you.
It's rather crunchy in this toad.
I appreciated the crunch of it too, as well. You are a bit of a bony, crunchy boy, so thank you. Just so you are aware, then, you are swallowed whole. The grapple ends, but you are blinded and restrained. You do have total cover against attacks and other effects outside of the toad, though, so that's a bonus, right?
Silver lining.
Meat shield.
But yeah, you're just inside the toad right now.
I don't think there's a such thing as double disadvantage. I just think
No.
I have disadvantage on my attack rolls.
Yes.
As I'm just going to go ahead and try and blindly strike forward and try to stab outward with my bone sword in my cramped position and just strike forward, doing my best. It's a 9.
Does not hit. So you flail wildly inside the stomach of the toad.
He just screams out once again. He's going to use his action surge. He's got to... He's starting to freak out. I gotta get out of here. He goes to strike again. Oh, no. It was a 7 that time.
It's a strange sensation being inside the beast of another, or the belly of another beast, and you are finding yourself becoming more and more erratic with your strikes, and are finding that as the longer you stay in here, the more and more you almost just feel as though dread is creeping into your mind of you may be consumed here in that of the marshlands. Next up is Scrap.
She pulls the purple cape off the one side. You better let go! And she flings with her finger a force dart at the toad. That's an 8 to hit.
That does not hit.
Son of a bitch! And she winds up and punches him with the mage hand again.
All right.
It's an 11 to hit.
That hits.
She winds up, boom, punches the toad, is pushed another 10 feet, taking 6 points of force damage.
Okay, where are you pushing this toad? Like into the water?
Oh god. Thank you for pushing me into the water with this.
No, I'd imagine she's kind of maneuvered it, so now it's pushing more towards the cart.
Say, just a nice little coffin. Just to be burial at sea. Burial at swamp, really.
It's like, don't worry, I'll get you out of there. Hold on.
The toad kind of slams into the side of the cart, and the cart rocks to a little bit to the side, a few apples falling to the ground, as its head lurches over to you, and it goes to attack you.
Oh, shit.
Give me a bite. Break me off a piece of that little ratling. That's an 8.
8.
I was about to say, you better have more than an 8 on your AC. The fact you have to look is a little concerning.
Sorry. Listen, I don't trust anything of my... That does not hit.
Okay, I need to look at your sheet now because I gave me a slight heart attack myself of like, how do you have 8 as an... Okay, it's 11, all right.
No, it's 11. But like, the panic, like, wait, I have to be sure.
I know that we're working with some weird ability scores, but good lord.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Next up then is Benjamin. How's it going in there? I am sorry, I don't mean to be a stickler, but I gotta do something to you because you're in the belly of the beast. You are going to take some poison or acid damage.
He's trying to digest me.
Well, that's a fat one. That is a total of 13 points of acid damage. Okay, now it's your turn.
As Benjamin is down to 1 hit point, he's stopped screaming. He just goes into like a silent state of panic, and he strikes out once more. 14 to hit.
That hits.
There's 10 points of slashing damage.
Right, you strike out directly into the belly of this creature on the inside. You are spattered about with different sorts of juices in the innards of this creature as blood begins to pool into the stomach, splashing about your face, mixing with the bile within. It is not pleasant, but you know that you have hurt the beast. It's looking pretty rough, but at least that's what you can see on the outside, Scrap. I mean, on the inside, I would say it's looking pretty rough already for you, Benjamin, and also just blood and bile. I mean, yeah, it sounds like you're probably doing a lot of damage to it. But on the outside, you see Scrap as it lets out a bit of a belly of what I best could say, a roar for a toad. Blood kind of spills out of its mouth, but it's still up.
As his bonus action, he's unconsciously stealing himself using Second Wind. 11 points healing is regained as he's just got this, and he's just panicked and he's just clawing and pushing with his bone sword, and I end my turn.
Scrap.
He said the toad's looking pretty rough.
Pretty rough.
All right, she squares her shoulders. She takes her left hand and she extends it straight out from her and pushes her thumb up and pointer finger forward. It's like, I think it's time for you to take a nap. She makes the shape of a gun with her hand and fires.
So this is the finger guns.
Finger guns.
All right. It is a bonus action to cast. So it is
bonus action. You know what? We're gonna reflavor.
And also, just to want to make sure too, for your class, do you have anything that gives you not disadvantage on ranged spell attacks within melee? Because you are in melee range right now.
Sugar bean. I didn't think about that. You know what? I appreciate you mentioning that. I am going to switch it up a little because I would get disadvantage. So I am instead gonna swing with my hand axe. That's a 2 to hit.
That does not hit.
So I am going to now wind up and try to punch with the mage hand. Spending a die of fate to make sure it hits.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna gush that I still love this idea that the mage hand now has a bonus attack. That's just fun to have. Like, You just gotta just pop out a mage hand and it just gives a bonus attack each time. Just a melee spell attack.
Right.
It's fun.
That is 18 to hit.
Oh, that hits. Yeah. And you said you spent another dice of fate.
Yes.
So I got 2 of them.
Yes, sir. But it's worth it. We're getting you out of here, man.
I get 2 dice of fate. Oh yes. It's lovely to pluck upon the strings of fate.
I'm immediately afraid of everything I've done up until
you're
this point.
doing.
Trying to save your life, man.
To hear the thunder roar above. That sounds oddly enough like a cackle from the skies.
That is 4 points of force damage, and he's knocked back 10 feet, hitting himself against the cart again.
Well, bam. All right. Is that your end of your turn?
Afraid it is.
Okay. It is its turn. It's gonna take, you take acid damage again. Oh boy. Chunky, chunky, chunky. That is 11 points. It's 11 points of acid damage. And it goes right back, hopping straight up to you, Scrap. Goes to attack you.
Bring it on, ugly.
That's a 6 to hit, though.
Does not hit.
Okay. Benjamin.
Again, Benjamin is down to 1 hit point.
I know, that's why I found it hilarious.
And
Sorry.
this time, he freaks out. And he shifts into his bestial form that takes on more of the appearance of I believe a were-rat. In front of his face, where his mouth and nose is elongated slightly, his teeth sharpen a little bit, his eyes just his pupils dilate, and he just starts to scream. And when he shifts, it's small, but it's the only thing he can do right now. You gain temporary hit points equal to 2 times your proficiency, which is I'll get 4 temporary hit points.
Every little bit helps.
And the only way out is attacking. I can't climb out through his strength or anything.
No, you can only try to just flail about in there in the washing machine that is of acid.
As he's screaming, it almost sounds I guess it would sound kind of like the kind of high-pitched shrieks almost of a large rat. It kind of would sound like I would attribute it to. It doesn't sound like it doesn't really sound like he's yelling. He's just freaking out. So he goes to strike with disadvantage. Here we go. It's a 9.
That does not hit. You have shifted into that of the bestial nature of the were-rat, tapping into some sort of primal aspect associated with that of your ancestors, and you flail about, but you're unable to gain purchase true hits as you have these bone protrusions from your palms, trying to find desperately somewhere to pierce further into. It's dark in here. It's wet. It's bloody. It smells of bile and acid, and you are finding yourself getting closer and closer to the abyss, and you realize it. It's that primal aspect of you that is just wanting to simply survive. Scrap.
She, hearing the scream, her ears kind of perk up. She's like, all right, buddy, we're going to get you out of here. And she goes to swing with the hand axe across the face of this big toad. It was a nat 1. This dice is going into trash.
Yeah, you go to swing directly at this giant toad, striking it with your hand axe. As you... I will give you this. I will say you hit it, but the axe becomes embedded in the giant toad from like the top of its head, and it kind of rears back, coming loose from your grasp. So you hit it. So I will say, give me a D4 roll. I'll just say that. 2. Bit of blood begins to cascade down the front of its face, and something that you would have never assumed to have been so fearsome, of that of a toad, has now taken on the visage of a bloodied mass of terror. So something I also want to preface too, if anyone listening to this is kind of going like, hey, wait a minute, that's not a true rule, like something to remember, please, if you're ever DMing, is you're not out to fully kill the characters or your players, okay? I'm not saying I'm going to baby them, but at the same time, every so often, it's good to have a little bit of theatricality to it. So, come on, people.
Must be cool, man.
This be cool, man. Did you want to do anything else?
Yes, she's going to wind up with her mage hand and punch him. The fresh die that is 14 to hit this time.
That hits.
The big fat 6 of force damage right across the nose.
Keeps slamming it into the cart.
It just goes right back into the cart.
That concludes my turn.
It is the giant toad's turn, and you're taking acid damage.
Okay, I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
That's actually not as bad. So you're not dead, but you're at 0 hit points, right? So you pass out.
I had 5, yeah.
Yes. Oh, you had 5 hit points left. Oh, right, because of temporary hit points. So then you're not even passed out. Then it was a 1, and a 2.
Am I back down to 1 again? Are you kidding? That's.
It wants the taste of rat, so it continues to go after rat. So it goes up to rat and goes to bite. I am amazed. I am truly amazed, actually. And that's a 9 to hit. Okay.
I feel like I'm thrashing about, and it's trying to bite, but my thrashing maybe moves it or something.
Yeah,
I'm just flipping out in there.
It's an aggressive food baby, basically.
Between the seismic activity and having its lights punched out by this spectral hand.
All right, so it misses. That's all I can do then. As it tries to take a bite at you, you dodge to the side. Scrap. Benjamin, it's your turn.
With all of his might, there's no thought, just strike. Still nothing.
Still nothing. Sorry to
That's
say.
a 6. That's a 6 to hit.
Continue to flail about in the belly of this beast, unable to find a true point in which to pierce through with your bone sword.
Weakly, he's just screams are starting to die down a little.
Scrap.
Well, she doesn't have her hand axe anymore. She's got a punch. It's a 15 to hit.
That hits.
It's 3 points of force damage.
It is still up, just barely.
Yeah, damn it. Okay. Then, since that is out of commission, she pulls a dagger out of her, kind of her belt, and she just stabs at the toad instead. Net 20, baby!
Okay.
All right, so we've got some history here then for the first nat 20 on the podcast. All right, to kill a toad. So go ahead and roll damage.
It is 4 points of piercing damage.
How do you kill the giant toad?
All right, she seeing her axe is stuck, she's just like, ah! And she just slashes at the toad, like right along the lip, going down into the throat, bisecting it down its big waiter's throat.
Okay, I'm gonna say, because it's a nat 20, and also just because maybe it's been damaged enough from the innards as well, as you do so, as if being disgustingly birthed from this creature, you come popping out, Benjamin sliding out in front of Scrap, and you are out of initiative.
And he plops out onto the ground. He's just breathing hard. You see that he's shifted, and he's just covered in the viscera, and his face is. It's not like he has rat whiskers or anything, but you can definitely tell that his snout would almost kind of resemble yours a little bit. It's not that pronounced, but it's not what he looked like.
She just sees him just slither out onto the ground from this giant toad. She just quietly reaches into her bag and hands over the health potion, just like, well, you look like you had fun. Did you get more handsome all of a sudden?
He doesn't respond. He's just breathing hard in and out. He doesn't register that you're handing him a potion. He's very, very rattled, as I believe this is the first time he's almost died from an experience like this. This is entirely new. He's in shock.
Realizing you're not reaching up to grab it, are you still on the
Just
ground?
just on the ground.
He just quietly places the bottle next to your head. Well, you can have that when you're ready. He straightens up and looks at the toad. I guess she does an investigation check on it, see if it's anything special.
Sure, if you'd like to do an investigation check. Are you doing a medicine or investigation specifically?
You know what? I'll do a medicine check since we're here for samples. That was a non-natural 20.
Looking at this toad, you're not directly familiar with a lot of the fauna that would be associated with that of the swamp. I mean, you have a lot of assumptions of what would be in the treacherous marshlands, and a giant toad is definitely not outside of the realm of possibility. The thing is that there are splotches of black over this toad that look a bit more strangely iridescent than you would think that would be for like a black splotch. So that's a bit odd.
I guess she pulls out a knife and starts to carve away one of these spots out of its hide.
Okay. With a non-natural 20, I would say go ahead and give me a survival check to cut away the hide.
Yeah, 13.
It's not too difficult. It's toad hide, and it's something that's just you can clearly see, so you're able to cut it off. So you have a bit of iridescent toad hide.
As she's cutting, he finally notices the potion of healing, pops the cork, and shakily drinks it.
I don't want to tempt you all, but this creature has conditions associated with it that are associated with that of Monstrous Grafts.
What's behind door number 1? Are we allowed to know ahead of time so we can make an informed decision?
So this is the thing I was trying to look at when I saw this, is that when I was looking at the rules, so for those that are listening, Monstrous Grafts is the variant rule we are using from Valda's that I think I mentioned earlier, which allows players, based off of their proficiency and also various tools that they have, to take pieces from monsters and actually surgically implant these upon themselves in certain respective body slots. The thing is, it gives me all the conditions associated with that of harvesting a graft and attaching a graft. Beyond that, for harvesting, it says, it just says fresh corpses of monsters slain within the last 48 hours, preserved by a similar spell of gentle repose. Takes about 10 minutes to take a graft, and only one graft from each corpse. It doesn't specify exactly if you're able to tell which graft it is. However, I would say with the medicine check that you gave me, with a non-natural 20, you would just know what would be able to be taken from this. And I need to look at the qualifiers again. So it has, for the slot head, amphibious adaptation, which allows you to put it in the head slot of grafting the gills or the associated organs of that of an aquatic creature to your neck, allowing you to breathe both air and water. I guess this also has to do with just kind of alchemy, because we'd have to flavor this a little bit, because it states in here, additionally, you can attach minimal fins and gain a swim speed equal to your movement speed. I could argue that we could basically make it that you can technically take
your toes or something?
Take the webbing associated. I mean, no, technically, I wouldn't say it would take up like leg slots or anything like that. I'd just say that because of the flavor of the text, we just let that happen. The other thing is you could take a beast's hide, a beast of large size or larger, which you have transplanted the thick and or possibly furry or scaly hide of a wild beast onto your body. Your armor class equals 13 plus your dex mod. Dark vision. You can take any creature with dark vision, and you've replaced your own eyes with those of a monster with night vision. You gain dark vision. This actually has a lot of stuff on it. I forget just looking at it. Let's see. And there's a lot here actually.
Oh.
That you could get from this body, really. That's really a lot. Just from this toad. Wow, the bounty upon you. So, beast, dragon, or monstrosity with bite or claw attack. You have surgically implanted either the teeth or claws from a monster into yourself, which are natural weapons which you can use to make unarmed attacks. In the future, you can harvest a second creature to improve the graft. Interesting. I'm just going to make sure that I've got every single one here that you guys can get out.
Now, I am reading on here, it says only one graft can be harvested from each corpse. So does that mean we have the cornucopia, but only one person gets one of these upgrades?
That is true, and only one graft.
Got it.
Let me see here, just making sure I've got all the various... Oh, leaping legs. So if you want frog legs, or toad legs, you've replaced or modified your legs with the muscular limbs of a bounding creature. Your jump distance doubles. Additionally, you can jump your full distance with or without a running start. That's pretty much it. So you guys have a lot here that you can pick from if you want to. Just remember, though, if you do decide to do this, it does mean that you take 10 minutes to attach the graft, and this procedure takes, takes 10 minutes to take the graft, takes an hour to put it on, requires a healer's kit, alchemical supplies, and a knife, as well as someone with proficiencies in tools of those or medicine, and it necessitates recovery time. When you finish installing a monstrous graft onto your body, you lose half your hit points and all of your hit die. For 24 hours after installation, you can't use the graft's abilities as you adjust its presence. So basically, as soon as you do this, you don't have the ability. You can still have it up to 48 hours. So if you want to harvest it and store it, you can, and then potentially apply it to yourself later to adjust to it. You do not have to do this. I am just stating it is an option.
Any of those piquing your interest?
Benjamin doesn't want anything to do with this frog corpse. He's still recovering from almost dying, and so he's just gonna look at you and just. Did you get samples for Dr. Honeyeater? As he's coming down from his near-death experience.
Yeah, they've got these glowing spots, but there's a lot more going on here. Kind of looks at it.
And would we have been told by Dr. Honeyeater, oh yes, you can attach things to yourself, or would this be something that he would generally know?
This was something that you were told. He brought this up. You would remember this. He had brought this up with all of his ravens. This practice, this thing that he has basically taught all of his ravens what they can and can't do. In fact, you would probably even know a few ravens offhand that have done this. This has just been the first time that you've been sent out, and the first attempt potentially that you would be allowed to do so on your own.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Benjamin's just, yeah. Okay. But you got the samples then.
So the gills intrigue me, the water breathing. So would that be listed as external, head
slot?
Head slot. Tough, because I don't know what could be coming down the pike. I guess I will harvest and save it. Just I won't apply it at this moment.
Okay. Do you have anything that you can put the gills, or rather, this is biology that I am entirely unfamiliar with toads and frogs.
Yeah, they breathe through their skin. There's no gills going on.
For the sake of it, we'll just say it would be patches of toad skin on your throat, then essentially. Right.
Slicing in so you can allow the air to even slap it on.
What would be oxygenating the blood? I suppose that would make sense. Okay.
It's a toad rat.
Toad rat. Mm. The most beloved of creatures.
In the sequel to Cat Dog.
Perfect. I mean, she's got a pouch. I would say she'd probably toss it in the pouch.
Okay, so it would stay fresh for up to 48 hours, just to know that. After that, you would not be able to use it for your procedure. So that is the one graft you have taken, which is the toad skin for that of use in making gills, or be able to breathe underwater, etc. And the game, amphibians, you take some of the webbing as well to be grafted onto your feet to be used in swimming as well. So it takes about 10 minutes to do so. So you're just kind of cutting into this thing.
A frog.
Yep. Toad. It's a toad.
I'm sorry, toad. My apologies.
Yeah, so other than that, you are still in the area here that is kind of a small little apple area. As far as anything else, you can definitely explore a little bit more if you'd like, if there's anything particular that you're interested in, or just...
Are all the apples rotten?
No, so from the cart that Scrap looked into, you notice that a lot of the stuff was fresh. So a lot of this area isn't rotten. In fact, this right here seems as though to be somewhat fresh. The smell of rotting fruit you smelled earlier, you could probably deduce that was actually from a few apples maybe on the bridge or something, because this has been transported a back and forth as far as a wagon. But no, the apples here do not look rotten.
Benjamin goes over to the cart. He tries to go for the freshest looking apple, and he kind of picks one up and sniffs at it. Are they good to eat, or are they only used for...
Yeah, so the swamp apples aren't exactly they're very sour. It's not that it's like a nice Granny Smith apple basically, a nice tart sour taste to it. So it's not bad to have. Just they decide to use it to make whiskey and other things out of it though.
Okay. Right. Yeah, he's looking for. I don't think that's going to heal him, but I'll take a bite anyway.
All right, take a bite. It is sweet and tart at the same time, and it's actually a bit refreshing in a sense after your near scrape with of your mortality. As you consume that of this apple, it's comforting a little bit because you've grown up with eating these apples.
Feels a little better then, as it kind of reminds him of just time when he wasn't being consumed.
Consumed or died. Just a time. So most of the time in your life, right? It reminds me of a time I was alive, which was 95% of my life.
She sees him macking on an apple, and as she's still cutting away at the toad skin, she's like, "So, does it taste good?"
As it's been over a minute now, you see his shoulders kind of relax and his visage returns to normal as the shifting goes away. He sees that of his normal face. I feel better. I'm not really, but that was something else. I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before.
I bet the smell was fun. Did you find any apple pickers down there while you were giving it as a lozenge?
I don't remember anything, just my own screaming.
Yeah, it didn't sound great from the outside either. But glad you're out. Good for you. You gonna explain the she kind of gestures with her hand and makes like a swooshing noise.
I forgot to mention that he does wear those kind of fingerless gloves to mask his slits where the bone sword comes out. He's like, "Oh, yeah, that's and he he extends his bone longsword. Yeah, I've been able to do this for a while. It's not the most pleasant of feelings, but he gives it a swing. It's what keeps me. It's what lets me be able to handle myself, as you say." And he puts it back and retracts it.
You see her she stops cutting. She has this horrified sort of look on her face. Her eyebrows slowly begin to raise. She's like, I could make so many jokes about bones, but I got nothing that was disturbing. Well and truly uncomfortable to watch. You said Dr. Honeyeater helped you with that?
Well, before, I used to get broken bones a lot. My bones were weak and I was in pain a lot, but I couldn't really help out as much as I wanted. Sometimes I would, break something fairly easily. And I hated it. I hated being incapacitated, so I asked him if he could help. And he gave me something that would help me strengthen my bones to not break as much, and something a little extra.
Little extra. You're telling me that doesn't hurt?
It does. It doesn't feel good, but they don't break as much anymore. I'm actually a lot sturdier. That's why I don't like to fight. It's hitting something with your bones doesn't exactly feel great.
Yeah, generally ill-advised, I would think. But I'm glad you're upright at least.
Same here. You can see his talking with Scrap. His demeanor of how he was before is starting to come back. He's starting to bounce back from what happened.
Well, Dr. Honeyeater will be pleased. We got some glowy bits.
Is this pond behind us here? As I do see to the right of the cart, there's a pool of water here. Is this clear water, not swamp marsh water?
Yeah, so going up to it, you find that it's actually a bit clearer than normal than you would find in the swamp water. You can probably deduce from this, considering that you see the trees and the tree stumps to the the southeast there, that this is kind of an apple grove a little bit, and where they would harvest wood and then also apples. And it might be that this water is actually used as kind of a natural spring to be able to water these plants, but it looks clear.
Does it have an outlet, or is it just enclosed?
It looks enclosed. You do notice, though, further to the north of it, that there are the tracks of the giant toad. It looks like it came directly from the water above, like actually directly in the swamp, and it tried to. You could see where it disturbed the mud going into this clear water, and then, of course, where it climbed back out to attack you by surprise.
He takes the empty potion bottle that he just consumed, kind of fills it with water, kind of pours it over his head, get some of the extra viscera off of him. Does that a couple of times with his arms, just to kind of get gunk off of him. After he's done that, he just fills it up once more, and then corks it, and has just a bottle of that clean spring water.
While you're cleaning yourself off, Benjamin, you notice kind of directly in the brush, kind of to the northeast a little bit of by this pond, there is actually you see that there's a bit of a small hollow there. Looks to be just a small hollow of rocks, just kind of an outcropping directly in there.
What is that? And he kind of approaches it and goes to investigate.
Inside, you find that of a small rusted lockbox.
He reaches in and pulls it out. How big?
It's about the size of just a standard, close to about maybe 6 inches, just a standard lockbox. You hear a bunch of clattering and clinking inside of it.
Is there a keyhole?
Yes.
And he kind of peers in and sees if there's, checks for a key.
Within the alcove?
Yes.
Go ahead and give me a investigation check.
All right. It's an 8.
8. That would be no. You do not find any key in there. You do find several scrapings of lockbox, most likely where it was put back and taken out multiple times. So,
Scrap. You don't happen to have any. You don't happen to have any lock picks or anything on you, do you? Or anything small enough for this keyhole? As he kind of walks over, holding the box.
She kind of checks her pockets. I don't think I do. If we find some, I'm pretty good with them. I don't have any on me, unfortunately. Did you find some treasure in the mud?
I did. It was in the alcove over by the rocks here. He pulls out a small knife that he has. It's not a dagger. It is called a small knife, and he kind of compares it to the hole on this lockbox here, and tries to jiggle it around in there. How big would you say it would be?
It probably wouldn't be able to get in very well. You most likely you don't have any experience picking locks, right? I don't think you would have anything like that, right?
I am proficient with these tools.
You are proficient with thieves' tools. Okay, so you would then probably know then as you're pushing at the lock with a small knife, it probably wouldn't work. It looks a bit too small, that the blade would not be able to fit too well into there.
Okay. Is it wooden? Metal?
Metal.
Metal. Got it. Okay.
We could always try to crack it open.
I guess. As he kind of rattles it, it doesn't sound like there's... I couldn't tell what glass sounds like, but I guess he could take a crack at bonking it open. Try to... is the lock protruding off of it? Or is it just ingrained into the box flush?
It's flush.
Yeah. It's not like there's any keys. I guess we could try and break it open.
I would say pour some of that frog acid on it, but I'm worried that it would eat through to whatever's inside.
Let's try to break it open here, then. Goes ahead and extends a short sword from his hand. And he's going to go ahead and kind of, BAM! Hit the box.
I would say you don't even make an attack roll. You hit it, right? So just give me damage. It's not going to run away from you or anything.
7 piercing.
The box crunches slightly under your hit. It looks as though it's the tips of it are on either side are being to bend up a little on each side, so you can see a little bit into the box.
He goes and kind of sticks in the edge of his. He puts a foot on one side and tries to pry open the box.
Okay, give me a. You just trying to force it open?
Yep. Force it open. Strength check, athletics.
Are you proficient in something or?
Not proficient in any strength checks.
Okay, then just give me a straight up strength check then.
That's a nat 1.
You're trying to pry it open with your hand, right? Directly. You have your foot up against it, or how are you trying to pry this open?
I tried to place one foot on the side of it to kind of keep it still, and I wedged my bone sword into it, and I was trying to pry.
Okay, so you're attempting to pry at it, and as you're attempting to pry at it, whether through the shifting or the slight dip of the mud, you slide slightly, and the tension associated with that of the bone sword creates a shooting pain, like it's almost the equivalent of a scraping against bone as it goes up, it shoots up your arm, and you just retract back, and you're just shaking your hand in pain. The box is not further open, but yeah, that's about it.
Well, ow! I've got at least you can kind of see in there, and he kind of picks it up and peers into the pried up spot of it.
As you look inside, you see sliding around in there are various coins.
Oh, holds out his hand, tries to get him out like a piggy bank.
Okay. Because you've bent up the sides, it takes a little bit of time, but steadily, one by one, various coins begin to drop into your hand. You receive 17 copper, 1 silver, and then you receive 4 gold pieces. The odd thing about these gold pieces, though, is that you notice that they are actually not the type that you normally see in town. Granted, gold is a very rare commodity that you would use in town anyway, but you're familiar enough with the currency normally with that in Cluster Rock, of where most of Kaz Tour coins have that of the face of the Dwarven Emperor upon them. These do not have that. They are just simply gold coins with that of a leaf upon them.
These gold coins look a little different. I haven't seen these ones before. I wonder. And he thinks back in his mind and just rolls. I'll roll for history to think if I've ever heard of anything like that, since I've never really traveled outside of any emblems with leaves. Here, Scrap, take a look. And he thinks back, and I guess I'll roll for history. 2.
2. Doesn't ring a bell.
I'd like to also take a look. Having been a pirate in the Slicer Isles, I imagine she might have run across different types of coin in her day.
That's a fair point.
13.
13. It's obviously a old coin. The gold is... I'm trying to think of like the best descriptor for what old gold looks like, because I don't know what old gold looks like, but it's old. It's old looking gold. The distinguishing mark of a leaf doesn't really strike any particular bell of a signifying aspect to it. It's old pieces of gold with a leaf upon them.
Not sure. It's ancient, whatever it is. Don't know if it predates the Kaz-Turians. I can't imagine anybody predating Kaz-Tur.
Well, these are pretty rare. I guess I'll hold on to them, and then once we get to Dr. Honeyeater, I guess I'll show him and see if he's ever seen them before. We found gold.
We found gold and silver and copper and a frog. Toad. Sugar.
When the wiki gets created, this is gonna be a problem, okay? Just it was a toad.
Listen, Scrap doesn't know the difference between a frog and a toad. It's cold and slimy and it ribbits.
When I scrap it, it croaks, not ribbit. I should know. I was very close to it.
Oh, were you? A front row seat to its vocal machinations, did you?
Shivers.
How are you feeling, by the way? She kind of looks over him post health potion.
Above table, I am at 6 health points.
Shall we take a short rest or a long rest?
Short. If it's short, it's an hour, yeah. In here?
Yes.
In the swamp? I guess
Yes.
we are. Yeah, do
you
you
like
want
to rest in the swamp?
We can chill in the cart. I mean, it's pretty sturdy, right?
The first time that thing walked out, I didn't see it. I don't know if we'll get attacked on the way back, so better safe than sorry.
let's take it easy then.
Short rest it is.
Get my gamble ability back. Yeah.
I think he keeps his for the short or for the long, or do you get it all back?
The dice he keeps, but the gamble ability where I get to re-roll one die, that I get back on a short
Yeah, because
rest.
you used that earlier. So I still have two dice.
You need like
Alright.
a dice of fate sound effect. Bling.
just a really kind of okay.
I'll think of something. Yeah.
I imagine it's the sound of a die rolling across an auditorium floor with bass boost. Like
And
they
like a
used to do
nice,
with the old Monopoly game from Nintendo.
like a nice little fat reverb on it.
Exactly.
I will use hit die.
You'll use hit die to take a short rest. Okay, where are you guys just kind of just resting by the cart, or just because a short rest doesn't necessarily mean you're not like sleeping or anything. It's just you're just taking
He's
it
gonna
easy.
get up into the cart and eat a couple more apples, and just kind of hang out in the cart. Just kind of squeeze in next to the other boxes and kind of just enjoy the confines of a cart, but not of the inside of a toad.
Imagine she's sitting on the edge of the cart, her feet kind of swinging as she's looking over the scrap of toad flesh that she managed to extract from the beast.
All right, I will use my hit die. I'm going to use 2 of them. All right, with that, I have gone back up to 23 hit points.
She's going to use one of hers just to get back up to snuff. No, she's not, because that was a 1. 18 points now. How many ones must you roll? 2 dice.
As you carry about taking a short, much needed rest after that of dealing with the giant toad, having found a few interesting bits and baubles, the gray sky that you had noticed earlier begins to darken a bit, and you are finding that the occasional drip and drop of rain begins to fall downward upon you. It's not a thunderstorm, nor is it a deluge of rain, but it is enough to start causing a bit of the visibility to get a bit more clouded. It begins to kick up a lot of the water that's down at the surface, and we're finding that it's creating a bit of a light mist, kind of obscuring a majority of the small island that you're on.
We should probably get back quickly, huh?
Well, that sounds like a plan.
He gets up, and by that spot, avoiding where Scrap had originally fell in, is my stick still sticking out of the tar as it slid in?
That particular stick has probably been burnt.
Consumed and burnt. Okay, that's right.
Consumed and
Fire.
burnt. So
Should be okay without a stick, yeah?
Yeah, just head on a swivel, I guess. Sure, we'll find another stick.
Let's get out of here.
So you're making your way back to that of Cluster Rock.
I didn't know, Miss Scrap, I didn't know you could do magic.
Okay, yes, I can do magic, but it's just scrap. No need for the miss. Do you see me in a petticoat or a dress? I'm not dignitary, I'm just scrap.
Oh, that's the respect. Oh, how they raised me.
Oh yeah, you're the village kid. You grew up here, right?
Yeah. Don't you? We see each other every now and then. But
I mean, yeah, but we haven't really had a chance to talk,
or fight toads.
Yeah, that doesn't come up on the docks very often. Sometimes there's a mean marlin you gotta really crank on the pole for, but no, never fought a toad before.
So did you learn all sorts of magic when you? I think you said you rode boats. Are you a fisherman? What did you do?
I did quite a bit of sailing. Found a book that had lots of spells in it. Learned how to spell, both figuratively and arcanically, I suppose. Learned to read the book and cast the spells at the same time. Ta-da!
Oh,
It doesn't do much. I mean, I can't, it's not fireball or anything, but I used to push people off boats with it, anybody who's causing trouble.
push people off boats.
Yeah, you saw the hand, right? Just boom, right over the side. Into the drink they went.
Just as a question, does when Scrap says "into the drink," does it sound? Do you kind of slip back into like an old like pirate dialect, like you kind of you've said it like in a chorus of other people saying "into the drink"?
She kind of gives a nod.
Oh, pirates, he says.
I'd like to think of, surprise treasure finders.
That's so
Pirate has
cool.
baggage.
Ah, got it.
What about you? How'd you end up in this lovely establishment?
Ah, born and raised. Born and raised here. Small town.
Born here? I don't remember any shifters.
I think no one really tells me, but I've been here all my life. I know I was here as a baby. I know I'm definitely the tallest.
Yeah, compared to the gnomes, I bet.
But yeah, that's where I was. That's where I've been raised. You see him kind of as he stares off a little bit. I've always just lived here.
Well, I suppose there could be worse places.
Not really as exciting as being a surprise treasure hunter like yourself.
Yeah, well, everybody gets their start somewhere, I suppose. Yeah, we should probably get heading back.
For taking the time to converse with your respective party members, you find deciding that it is good enough time as any to head back to that of Cluster Rock. So, Benjamin, you're going to be giving me some survival checks to navigate back through the swamp. You'll find that it's going to be a bit more difficult. I'm assuming you're going to be wanting to do a slow pace, just because, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult as you are finding yourself, even though you've regained some of your hit points, a bit ragged, and also the weather.
1 foot here and another foot here. 19.
19. You find as you are going through that of the swamp, testing the various stability of the small outcroppings of rocks and bits of mud, you are able to navigate yourself a bit further into the swamp, back to that of the settlement of Cluster Rock. As you make your way further through, you'll need another check.
A foot here and another foot here. That's a nat 1.
That one.
Just cracked your knuckles again.
I heard that too. That was.
You're finding common ground going back to that of Cluster Rock, recognizing a fair amount of the topography and various landmarks. In fact, even coming close to that of the dwarven corpse that you came across earlier. However, as you came back towards this area, you find that the corpse is now missing.
Scrap.
Hmm?
Your body. It's not there anymore.
What do you mean it's not there?
I mean, it's not there. It's not like he got up and walked away.
I would bet not. Well, she starts looking around. Is there any sign of, like...
I make an instant perception check as he's instantly like, oh, another toad. Oh,
I would also like to look around, see if we hear, smell.
This is 17 for perception.
9 for her.
You don't see it, Scrap, as you're looking about in that of the misty rain that is occurring here. However, in the darkness, or rather just light grayness, I suppose, would be a better way of describing it, is, Benjamin, you see that of a figure. They appear to be about 30 feet from you, southwest, as they are struggling with something, it looks like.
There's someone there. Hello there, he calls out.
As soon as you say hello there, you see their head turn to look at you. You are unable to see their face or their form, obscured in the mist. However, as soon as they hear you, they immediately start running northwest off into the swamp.
What was it? Was it a man? Was it something?
Was I able to catch the form, like bipedal, maybe?
You could tell that it was humanoid, yeah. It was tall, too, about your size.
I guess I go up kind of, I'm not gonna engage. I just want to go and see what it was standing over.
As you approach, you see that of the dwarven body. However, you notice that there are numerous puncture marks all over the body. It is still bloated and still purpled, but there are numerous puncture marks along the arms and the face.
Can I make a medicine check to see if these are surgical or aggressive, like an attack?
Sure.
12.
12. I would say it wouldn't take much for you to not recognize this just because you've been training with that of Dr. Hunter Eater. These look like someone who has been taking samples.
Miss Scrap.
Yes.
It looks like somebody did the same thing that we're doing. They were taking samples, but from the corpse.
And you didn't recognize the person running away?
I couldn't tell. They were tall, but they were human. They seemed like they were a humanoid of some sort, but the mist was too thick. I wasn't able to see them clearly. Do I see anything around the body? Footprints. I mean, it's marsh, but anything left behind?
Looking around, you see the body. If you want to actively look, go ahead and give me a perception check.
Okay. 15.
You don't see anything else really of note. It's odd to you for the person that had been struggling with it. It looks to have just left this body here and then just took off northwest into the swamp. But other than that, you don't notice anything really out of the ordinary beyond that.
They went into the swamp, away from us.
I mean, you've lived here your whole life. There's no other islands or anything out that way, right?
This is the first time I've ever been this far out here, but there isn't. And he thinks, I don't believe there's any place that you could go to for any sort of refuge, as he thinks, and I'll do a history check. 8.
You can't specifically recall anything that comes to mind.
I don't think we should follow him, though. Did they run with a purpose? Like they knew what direction they were going?
From what you could tell, they were running straight off northwest, just full on booking it. If they were a person that was unfamiliar with the swamp, then they paid no heed to any dangers. They just simply went off.
They were either spooked by us, or they know exactly where they're going. They were moving fast.
Now, if it's somebody dragging a dwarf body, I don't exactly want to find wherever they were going. But, I mean, Clusterrock's got to find out about this. I mean, there's a whole bunch of quacks doing experiments. It's not like it would be odd to see somebody collecting samples, so if he's running...
I mean, as a gesture to us.
Yeah.
I mean, did we want to take a sample?
You know, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea.
And I'll watch her back while she does so, just kind of looking through the mists. I can remember this is not a visual medium.
What do you know?
I keep miming my actions. Sorry.
As long as you're describing what you're doing as you raise your hands triumphantly or
as Benjamin squints off into the mists, kind of peering back and forth as he kind of stands by Scrap.
There's an audio.
As she does her work.
That's audio. That's some audio. Sorry.
Say it to me slower.
Give me that vocal fry. Amanda, go ahead and give me a medicine check to take a sample.
That is a 7.
You find as you cut into it with your knife, because I don't believe you guys have any kind of syringes or anything like that. I don't know if the medicine pack carries things like that. For the sake of it, we could argue that would be something you would have. Because I'm assuming that you're taking just a sample with a knife. You try to cut into this dwarf's skin. Even though it's bloated and slightly gives way under your knife, you find, weirdly enough, as you begin to slice into it, it almost begins to break away like that of clay, just kind of crumbling a little bit. And you are unable to get a successful sample from it.
Well,
what happened?
It's like he's not made of flesh or something. She takes out her hand axe and brings it down on the shoulder, kind of trying to hack off the whole arm.
You do bring down your hand axe upon it. As you do so, it does break off the arm. The thing that you notice about it is that it's not as though if it's not made out of like muscle or sinew or anything. It's just, it crumbles, like it's almost been dehydrated. But it's blood, it's bone, it's everything underneath it.
Did the whole arm just crumble?
It chopped off, and so like there's bits crumbling off of it.
Oh, there's bits crumbling.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's unsavory. Suppose we should take this back and see what's going on. She kind of grabs the hand. She's like, sorry, to the dwarf as she begins to walk away with his arm.
So you're trying to take the arm with you?
Yeah.
Give me a sleight of hand check. How are you going to be taking that arm with you? It's very it's crumbling.
Would you like to wrap it? Would you like to wrap it? I have in my bag a set of common clothes, loose shirt, baggy pants.
Yeah.
You could wrap it in the shirt.
Sounds good. Keep all the bits contained.
Hmm.
So it'd still be sleight of hand check then?
I would say that if you have an implement to put it in there, because my first thought was just if you're going to be carrying it, it's going to be crumbling and bits of pieces all over the place. But if you have something to kind of just carry it in, then yeah, okay. So
It's like holding a crumbly biscuit. Oh God.
It's flaky, yum.
Yes.
yum yum yum.
Gravy. So she
This has been
carefully
such a delicious episode.
cooking in the Plaugelands.
I won't want. You could keep the shirt, by the way.
Oh, you don't want it back after the dwarf meat in here?
Dwarf meat, Miss Scrap. Ew.
What I say, and she ties it about calling me Miss, and she ties it down till it's what appears to be almost like a hobo's lunch pack filled with dwarven chunks.
All right. So with your dwarf to go and your various other samples from that of the bloated toad, you make your way back to Cluster Rock. And as you continue to arrive to that of the mist, you find it clears way, showing to that of the Cluster Rock gates, and you have arrived. So, if you're coming into this part of the podcast, so one thing that I've noticed about certain actual play podcasts is they usually do this after an arc. And the thing that I want to do that's a bit different, and we'll see if this actually sticks or not. Maybe we'll get rid of it. I don't know. But I liked the idea of discussing each part kind of like a after the show sort of thing right away. It doesn't need to be its own thing. And not a lot of mystery is going to be revealed or anything like that. But I want to take the time to discuss how things are going as far as one, we did this dumb idea of taking 46 drop the highest. And obviously, someone very nearly died this evening.
Multiple times.
Multiple times. And through the luck of the dice, you were not digested. So how do people feel about this 4d6 thing so far?
I'm currently okay with it. The one thing
You're
is that
alive.
I'm amazed with is that the fact that I kept getting brought down to 1. I believe it was 3 times.
Yeah.
That is
Your luck,
some
absolute.
that is some amazing cinematic stuff right there. Just getting digested and living off of just like pure will to survive and luck.
Did you have already someone lined up already though, just in case, or
Sure.
you're just going full? You're buried straight to it. Okay, married straight to that impingement, eh?
It wouldn't take much to pull a name out of the hat. There's a couple of names that are in there. I haven't had like a list of callbacks, like, be ready, because we could call at any time. Just like my hallway of characters just sitting in a chair with their audition papers.
Wolf, how are you feeling about it so far?
These kids are squishy. It is terrifying. Yeah, I mean, I've had characters with low stats before, but this feels definitely creaky. It really hits you on the like not even just health wise, just ability checks, and you have so little to work with. You are truly at the mercy of the dice.
Hmm.
And the dice have oft not been kind to me. So
No.
no,
Well, you think of it in a positive sense though. You did get the first nat 20, and also you did get 2 natural ones.
two nat ones.
You
Ow.
saved Benjamin. You saved Benny. You saved me.
Yes, but terrible cost. I've expended the luck for the entire day. But yeah, that's so you definitely feel the tension. I mean, in the
Yes.
combat.
It's
So,
dangerous. It's
oh
definitely
yeah,
a lot
immediately.
more danger.
Is there anything in particular, because this hasn't really been brought up yet, because I did mention it, that one of the things that I had originally toyed with was the idea of rolling up diseases for you guys on top of those stats. So one of the reasons that I decided to do the Monstrous Grafts as an additional mechanic was to hopefully offset any of the negatives associated with that of your ability scores. And I was worried as I was setting this up if I was giving you enough opportunities, because right now it's technically a one shot in the sense that like there'll be a few episodes of this potentially. I'm not sure how many, but I at the same time there's still that recovery period associated with getting a monstrous graft. And I want to make sure that you have the opportunities to utilize that mechanic. But obviously, if I had put in diseases, that would have been bad, right? Like that would have been bad as well. I mean, just you
Mhm.
have the disease now because I think it's reflective of that of
Yeah.
the ability scores anyway, right? Like, do you
Yeah.
what do you
Right.
feel about that, right?
I feel like that would have added just the icing on top of the already yeah kind of crummy cake that would have just
Mm,
been like, now in addition to almost being digested, you now have boils and your movement is slowed by 5 feet or something. Where it's at right now is pretty tough. Although if we do end up doing something that we come in contact with a disease and we end up getting one just from being in contact with it and not just like out of nowhere, it'd be understandable
sure.
because I wouldn't be completely opposed to it if it's a part of the situation where we may have to come in contact with something that's diseased and it's a
Mm,
part of the risk, then it's the choice of the character, then if we're going to take the risk, the disease risk is there.
right.
Right.
Very briefly, I wanted to ask you both also about your inspirations for Benjamin and Scrap, of what made you want to play a shifter, what made you want to play a ratling, and then the respective classes that you chose as well. Like, it was weird because I didn't think that I was going to be like going fully into, hey, we're doing Valdas, like everything from Valdas for the most part. But it's nice that you both did decide to pick more options from it. But I'm just curious about your decisions to play these characters and what you're hoping from them.
As far as the class, the War Mage, I've never played a full-on caster before, and I really wanted to try it. And I was intrigued by the idea of a cantrip caster. You don't have to worry about spell slots. You just have these abilities. You can use them as much as you want. And also the fact that these cantrips ratchet up with you so that the more powerful you get as a character, the more oomph you're gonna pack with the same spells. So finding unique ways, especially with the tricks, to modify even cantrips that you've seen before into something new, like Mage Hand. I was really intrigued by that particular trick.
That I really enjoyed. I
Yeah.
really like that as a thing to just do for Mage Hand.
Oh yeah. Well, and I only use the punch feature, but there's also one where you can grapple a tiny creature, which probably won't run across too many, but hey, maybe there's an errant cat or something that needs roughing.
Hmm.
And there's also press, which basically causes difficult terrain in a direction that you cause the hand to be pushed against, like
Oh,
the chest of
okay.
a creature.
So here's the thing that I thought you said caress for some reason, and it just was like, wait, what? Like, what's the advantage on caress? It just, I have a hand for you as well, my good
Oh yeah,
son.
it's going to twirl your hair betwixt my green tiny fingers. No, not caress, press, more oppressive.
Oh
Press,
my god.
press for those plosives. Press.
I mean, I suppose it could. No, I'm not going to go down that road, but it.
Magical
I just like the.
hands.
Yeah, but the way that the tricks modify these cantrips was really intriguing to me. As
Mm,
far as why I chose rattling, the more I found out about Arta's history and the um, the scabbed confederation and all this other stuff, I wanted to play a character that would seamlessly integrate into that world. I didn't know that Cluster Rock, she would have been an oddity. I found that out at session 0. I was like, shit, because I wanted something that would blend in with the world. But, I think it will all pan out.
As for Benjamin, I I didn't I've with the rolling that we had of the 46 drop the highest, I had the instant mind image of the underdog. And so I wanted to play someone clearly not an adventurer, someone who's not, rip roaring head straight into danger, just but the type who's willing to help out, be it the friendly big brother type who's just willing to be there. And I wanted to play this character just because I want to see how far I can get with the underdog and see how he grows from this. As for the Bone Knight, it's just cool. the just the image of possibly at some point being able to even possibly dual wield bone swords, and to be able to have his bones act like a shield, to shield him from harm from being struck. It almost reminds me of a mutant like from X-Men or something similar.
Well, I mentioned that in session 0 that it reminded me so much of Spike from X-Men Evolution, right?
Right.
Because like
Right.
especially when he got to the Morlock phase, like, oh wow, that sounds exactly like Spike.
It kind of reminds me of that with a lot less flair, as he's so fresh and getting used to this currently. But it could turn into something. It could turn into something great if he starts to get used to it. I like a good underdog story, and I want to see if Benjamin can grow into something possibly more formidable as if through more trials and tribulation.
Is there anything in particular about your character's backstories so far that you're wanting to explore potentially going forward? I mean, right now you're both in the service of that of Dr. Honeyeater as ravens, which it's not exactly the descriptor in the very beginning I gave was that, you don't really, you're just kind of just doing your own thing for the most part, right? And you're just kind of you're still working with him, but what are you trying to accomplish?
For Scrap in particular, she was trying to get a cure for the disease that she has on her right hand, which is scald. It was basically a magic curse of sorts. Um, she's that is still her main goal to try to be rid of it, but also trying to figure out how that incident occurred. She contracted scald when she touched a particular, basically a lute that was tainted by this magical malady, and it's unclear whether that was done with intent as a trap or if it was something
To
else.
clarify, loot as in LLOT, not LUTE, right?
Correct. Yes, they found a ship, no man crew, bunch of goodies in the basement, accidentally touched one piece, and she uh, charred her hand essentially. So just finding out what the story was behind that particular ship. The Silver Cannon was the name of it. So she wants to know where it came from.
Benjamin has had an entirely non-adventure life growing up, with only one mystery really, besides being helped by Dr. Honeyeater and receiving um, that which turned him into a bone knight to kind of help with his bone disease. He does know that he was when he first arrived at Cluster Rock as a baby, he was left with a note that had a message on it that was torn off, and part of the message is missing. And the note said, "Please take him. I'm sorry." And then the letters R.E. could have been the beginning of a word, could have been a name he doesn't know. And whenever he asks around the people who've known him the longest, it seems the story's constantly changing of, you know, how he was originally left there. No one seems to really tell him straight up.
So I should say that we did talk about this in session 0, and the goal of these discussions after the episode so far right now, we're not trying to give stuff away. That's not the matter of this, and this is not even information I would feel that would be too much giving away or anything like that because we haven't established a lot of these things yet. These things can change and ebb and flow depending on the campaign and depending on what is happening in the story. So that's just something to be aware of. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, spoilers and all that," it's like it's already been talked about in session 0, and this kind of stuff is not. Don't like people kind of forget that those roles for like backstories and stuff like that are in some ways meant to be a collaborative experience between the DM and the players because it's a bit of like putting it in the DM's hand a little bit, I feel at times, with the backstory given that the characters give, but then also the DM is able to just use that to kind of create a more of a story, I think. Final question before we end it here. Toads. How do you feel about toads?
I'm done with toads, I'm good.
Just
How can you
in
not love
general?
toads?
Battle
Yeah,
toads and regular toads and
Mhm.
battle toads are just fine, whatever their name, like Rip
it's
and Kronk and Chet.
rash.
I got them all correct.
They're named after they're named after, they're like what I think is one zit or something. Like they're disgusting.
Ugh.
But okay,
Oh,
not even-
yikes. I
you
was
wa-
not expecting the one toad to sneak up and almost wreck us both.
I have
Put on
thought
the
it was.
tail of the tar issue. Like,
Well, that's the thing. I was actually very.
Almost died to the tar.
I was tickled. I was tickled pink a little bit about both of those things compounding right away.
ugh,
Just are they going to hold the tar? Rolled in that one. Okay, well, there's and then,
tar
they're
you
not.
go.
They are not noticing the toad. It's just sneaking up on them. It's just rolling on over.
Imagining it lacing its little webbed fingers. It's just sneaking. Oh,
If that had gone another way, I felt like we would have made 2 new characters to go find Ravens 42 and 72.
I was about to say, like, I know you guys don't have anything built up yet, but well, now you've established anything in the reserves yet. But that's the thing, is that like I'm not trying to kill you, okay? It's a giant toad, but I guess because of the tar and rolls, hey.
oh. And the fact she's only got 4 feet to sink before we're suffocating to death. I plugged in the 2 characters' heights because I wanted to see, what that would look like. And I was like, I look like a child. He's 5'11", 4 feet nothing. I'm just like, great, cool. We have a grown adult and a toddler entering battle.
So, for those of you tuning in, we greatly appreciate that you have done so. We hope you've enjoyed the first part of the podcast involving that of the story itself, of that of the Plaugelands, and that of Benjamin and Scrap, as they continue on to figure out what is going on and return the samples that back to Dr. Honeyeater. If you would like to learn more, go to your local library. If you would like to listen to this more, make sure you subscribe. And you can follow us at Instagram at I gotta freaking look at the is that at Tables and Fables Pod. There's also our website, tablesandfablespod.com, where you can get the RSS feed to be able to follow us more on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're still working on that. I don't know by the time this is up. Maybe we have been approved. I'm not sure. Also on Blue Sky as well, which I have to look that up because that's like the not many people are on Blue. Well, there's some people on Blue Sky, but
Yeah, the cool people are on Blue Sky right now.
the cool people on Blue Sky.
Cool kids.
They fled the burning nest.
Mm.
tablesandfablepod.bsky.social. So if you want to follow us there, we'll have updates. Instagram, we'll try to post updates as well, potentially even character art or even map art and other little interesting tidbits here and there. Hopefully, we'll see. We're going to be a bit more involved going forward. We'll see how it goes. But if for some reason you don't like this format, just give us a little bit of a, just let us know like what you'd like to see going forward in the future. We're going to be doing multiple games, multiple arcs, etc. Potentially we'll come back to Plaugelands at some point in the future, even further beyond that of this initial arc, but we'll see. Do you guys have anything else you want to plug or say before we end it out?
Always look out for toads, folks.
Apt advice.
Join us on the socials. We'd love to engage.
All right. Thank you so much. And you have a pleasant rest of your week, morning, evening, whatever time. I don't know how to end this. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Be good.
Oh, man, we almost died.
Holy shit.